All right, so the topic of today's workshop is on a daily basis. We've got two speakers that are going to share for a bit, and then at the end of the workshop, we'll open up the floor in case anybody else would like to share. And our first speaker today is going to be Ronnie B.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. I'm Ronnie B. and I'm Addicts.
Hey, Ronnie.
I think the speaker they had this night, she did an excellent job. You know, if you didn't get a chance to hear her, too bad. If you did, I hope you got something out of it. And living on a living on a daily basis? Living on a daily basis. You know, it's funny how, well, my clean date is 9/15/2005. I don't say that to brag or nothing like that because I had some young sponsees, you know, they go to college, so that means they know some arithmetic, and so they see how old I am and how much clean time I got. They had told me, they said, well, I'm going to wait and get clean like you did. I don't wait till I get your age before I get clean. And the only thing I could do is just to wish them well. Because, so in that time that I'm talking about, all them years, because I started picking up drugs voluntarily at the age of 14. I'm addicted to opiates, and I've been doing opiates for well over 40 years. And that became my life on a daily basis. The getting, finding ways and means to get more. That's what I did on a daily. That's what I did on a daily basis, you know. Because to me, it was like that old commercial. Some of y'all young, you might not know this commercials. You know, they said, "Don't leave home without it." You know. If I had dope, I still had to go get some more because I was scared I was going to run out. And then on a daily basis, what I used to try to do, I come up with these plans on how I wasn't going to run out of dope. I'm just going to buy a big pile on Friday, and that'll last me all week long. Go get me a big pile on Friday. I'm copping again on Sunday, and then on Tuesday I'm asking for credit, you know. And I did this on a daily basis. So now that I come to Narcotics Anonymous, now I got to learn how to live without dope on a daily basis. Now I got to learn how to face life on life terms on a daily basis. Now I got to learn how to put up with my wife on a daily basis. On a daily. And how I do that is by trying to apply these spiritual principles in my life. Because I know y'all heard it time and time again. It don't matter how many steps or tradition you work. It's about how you're applying that in your daily life. See, these principles that I'm speaking on, there's nothing new to me. I was raised on spiritual principles. You know, I was taught right from wrong. But it wasn't until I came to Narcotics Anonymous that I knew how to apply these spiritual principles. Because the people who were trying to teach me these spiritual principles, they didn't know what they was talking about. You know, when you're young and everything, all them old people don't know what they're talking about. Y'all talking about something that happened back in 1918 or something. You know, this is 1960s. Things have changed. It's a different day. Brand new ball game. But those simple principles that applied back then, I find it just as valid today. like it says, when we read our traditions. These traditions are just as valid today as they were when these traditions were formulated. So these spiritual principles are still just as valid today. Now, if I take the spiritual principle of the first step, honesty, acceptance, surrender, humility, if I just use those spiritual principles alone, that would take me far. Because that was always been my problem. I wasn't going to surrender. And the basic text says surrender, in the first step, it says surrender simply means I don't have to fight anymore. See, I don't care what it was on a daily basis when I was out there using, I had to fight some, and most of the time I was fighting against myself. Because I'm so full of pride, I didn't know how to come to nobody and say, I got a problem, I need some help. The dictionary defines surrender as giving oneself up. So I had to give myself up to this process of Narcotics Anonymous so I could live this life on a daily basis. And see, that's when I had that spiritual principle of humility come in. And I like the way to describe it in the third tradition. So when the humility says, I'm just not God. See, I'm supposed to be your higher power. And by self-centeredness being the core of my disease, that I wasn't going to accept nothing unless it was what I wanted, when I wanted, and how I wanted. There's just certain things that I could not accept. See, it says in the basic text that it's more easy for me to change my perspective on the reality than it is for me to change reality. See, I didn't even know what I was even doing. So I was always trying to change reality. It seems more easy for me to change reality than to change my perception. See, I didn't even know I was doing that till I came to Narcotics Anonymous. That's what I was doing. It was more easy for me to change my perspective. And see, that go right back to that surrender. See, I had to live on a daily basis, what the third steps tell me to do. In any given situation, I do all that I possibly could do. Then after I do what I could do, then I turn it over to my higher power. See, but I didn't know nothing about that humility. I'm trying to be that higher power. So how in the name of God can I surrender? I did not want to accept the fact that I'm powerless over my addiction. It ain't the dope. It ain't nothing wrong with me. Only thing that's happening to me, I'm just having some bad luck right now. I'm just going through some bad luck. Because I refuse to surrender to the fact that I'm powerless over my addiction. See, I came in... See, I had this thing that I thought I was so unique. See, I used to come to Narcotics Anonymous way back in the 80s and used to listen to these stories and what have you. That ain't me. I didn't do that. But see, then when I started getting in here and getting honest, now I'm talking about them lying because I still lie like hell. And I lie for no reason at all. I just like lying. See, because they, I be thinking I be telling jokes. But they're telling you lying. I said, I thought it was a joke, And see, that's when I lost my train of thought.
Telling jokes.
Yeah, no, it's before that. I got sidetracked. I had a point to make, but anyway, he'll come back to me. So living on a daily basis. Okay, getting honest. That's what I was talking about. Being honest. See, I had to get honest with myself because I was trying to be that unique addict. I didn't go to jail. Okay? I don't have felony. I didn't pimp hoes. Okay? I didn't get shot. I didn't do all those things. See, I used to thought I was unique. I thought, I worked. I only had, my wife is the only woman I ever had in my life, and we're gonna be together 50 years pretty soon. I only had one job in my life. I worked for General Motors for 36 years. I sent my kids to school. I sent my baby to college. Now don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. Now I did some shit that I should have went to jail for. You know. Because I know when I was going on my first fourth step, fifth step with my sponsor and stuff, you know, it had something that had me told everything. And I said, no, I'm not. It's some things that ain't nobody gonna know about but me and my higher power. Because the statute of limitations still haven't ran out on my shit. You know, because when I came back like in the late 60s and early 70s, you know, I'm fresh back from Vietnam. I did 2 tours of Vietnam. Okay, and so now I had this special talent that I'm not gonna get into that the dope. See, we had dope men back then. You know, we didn't have dope boys. You know, we had dope men. You know, I don't know what happened to that. I went to bed one day and woke up. Old men were selling newspapers and young boys were selling dope. I said, what the hell, though? What the hell is that? You know. And so I had Uncle Sam gave me a special talent that they can employ, and I was good at it, you know. And like I didn't see one thing about I didn't hang out. You know, I wasn't always up over the dope man house and all that shit. Yeah, I done did to get my money, let me go home with my family. Okay. And so I'm saying, now I sent my kids to school. I didn't eat out of garbage can. I didn't live under the bridge. Now, I was talking about all this, you know, looking at the differences to the similarity. Okay? But then when I started getting honest with myself and really started listening what y'all was trying to teach me here in Narcotics Anonymous, what I found out was I was one of the sickest motherfuckers up in here. Oh, thank you so much. And so that's why I have, it's a spiritual principle called commitment. I don't say that I'm dedicated to the program as some people is, but I am committed to the program. And I don't get the fellowship and the program mixed up. And I do not get the fellowship and the program and socializing mixed up. Because someone come and tell me, come on man, come on and fellowship with us. Y'all ain't fellowshipping, y'all socializing. You know. And so I am committed to exercise the spiritual principle in my life on a daily basis. On a daily basis. And that's how I do this. You know, I heard somebody talk, well, what about this? What about this? Like I have, like Sponsy called me, and they go through all this and go tell me, I had this day down there. Did you use some dope today? No. Well, shit, you having a good day. Well, I got problem this. Okay, like, let me ask you this. Well, tell me, what spiritual principle do you think we can apply in that situation? I said, you're on your 8th step now. Now, you got 8 steps and you got 7 traditions on you, because the way we do it, after you do a step, you do a tradition. Okay. Now, you got 8 steps and 7 traditions on you, and you can't find one spiritual principle that you could have used in that situation. See, because we still want what we want. We still try to be that great I am. We still trying to be that power. You know? And that's, oh, no wonder that's the time. That ain't my time. Okay. Oh, shit, that's worse. And see, and that's when, you know, going back to humility. See, I suffer from a oversensitive ego with low self-esteem. See, I just don't know how to turn stuff loose. Turn it loose, you know. Because I know I used to lay in bed wondering how I'm going to get back at you. It might be something simple that you said something I didn't like. Or you might embarrass me on the job. And it might be weeks, months, but I don't get back at your ass. See, I don't have to do that. If I'm exercising this on a daily basis, I don't have to do that no more. You know, because I was taught a long time ago, when people start talking about me, and people doing this about saying this about me, I was taught this a long time ago. Sticks and stones, motherfucker. Sticks and stones. You know, my words would never hurt you. And like one fella told me, I almost got a resentment against him when I first came in the program. You know, I almost got a resentment against him because he said, what they saying about you ain't your business no way. When anybody's saying about you, it ain't none of your business. You know, I kind of got a resentment because he couldn't see the things I saw. No, you don't understand. They don't even know me, but they say any things about me. So what? Are you sleeping with any of them? No. Well, so what? But he just wouldn't get to the thing that I'm trying to show him, that they got no right to talk about me like that. You know, I know when I came back to Narcotics this time, the guy told me, said, you know why you having so much trouble? It's simply because this is the first time you ever been part of something in your life that you had no control over. Because I was actually miserable my first 9 months. Okay, I did my 10 years ago. Well, it'll be 11 years ago in September. I was at Peachford. I couldn't stand what the counselors were saying. Then they made us go down to this gym to this meeting. I couldn't stand what nobody else was saying. See, because it always go back to my looking at the difference instead of the similarity. I'm still trying my best to be this unique individual that I do not need this. And then when I finally surrendered to this process, I said, damn, I could have did it. I should have did this a long time ago. If I could have used this as some of the stuff that I went through a long time ago, using this stuff on a daily basis, you know, I had this desire, you know, called coming up as a black male in the 60s and what have you. You know, it's this thing going around back there, being the first black something. Whether it be the first black mayor or the first black governor or the first black this. So I was going to be the first black president of the UAW. I had a straight shot. I don't know if I would have been able to make it, but I would have been high. But what stopped me was, see, back in those days, they didn't have PowerPoint and all that kind of stuff when you do your presentation. You had to go up in front of the flip chart. You know, and write on the flip chart. I was a good speaker. I could read. I could translate stuff. I could explain people. I could teach people. But one thing I could not do, I could not spell. I could not spell worth a damn. And I was so embarrassed because now this promotion I'm going to get, and I got to be in front of a lot of people. Now I got to get up there, when they shout the ideas and what have you, I got to write them down. Now I'm so embarrassed to let them know that I done got this far and I can't spell. So I sabotaged that promotion. Now the guy who they gave the promotion to, the first thing he said, I need help. I do not know how to spell. I said, ain't that something? Just that something. See, if I could have used that spirit, if I knew anything about that spiritual principle of humility, come down off my high horse and just ask for help. Not saying I would have became the first black person in the UAW, but at least I would have went farther. And if I didn't go any farther, at least I'd have been comfortable with myself. Because I was able to be honest. I can't do this, but I didn't want, like they talk about that in Narcotics Anonymous, the mask that we wear. We don't want people to know the true us. Because I know come from me, I don't want, come from elementary school, I didn't like being teased. I didn't like to be picked on. I never did know how to handle that kind of stuff. So that carried on into adult life, and now I didn't want nobody to laugh at me. He doing all that, talking all that good shit, and he don't even know how to spell. But if I had to use this kind of stuff and to use on a daily basis, like now I am not ashamed to say, I'm not ashamed to speak on any of my shortcomings. No, let me back up. My defects. Okay, because a shortcoming is how I act out on my defect. So let me say I'm not ashamed, or even my lack of knowledge in any area. I'm not ashamed, because pretty much I don't let that ego go. I had let that ego go. I don't know about my self-esteem. I think it got better. Because I know we was going somewhere. It's just like when I was a little boy. I remember from 4th of July all the way to Christmas. See, back then, I know some of y'all might notice, like they used to have this TV program called Half Gun Will Travel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Paladin, he had this holster with the night chess piece on it. And from 4th of July to Christmas, I told Mama, that's all I want. That's all I want for Christmas. No, nothing else. Every day, every week, every time I told her, this is all I want. I want that Paladin holster for Christmas. That's all I want. That Christmas, I know I got a swing bike, which was the top of the line, with hubba lights, crash bar, streamers in the handlebar, horn, light, reflectors, mud flaps on my crash bar. You got a big old bag of Army Mans. I got this, the space age was coming in, so I got this space station and everything. And I got this cowboy set, had a Winchester, 2 guns, and spurs. But I did not get that Paladin holster. And I didn't get that Paladin holster. I fucked everybody Christmas up that year. I fucked everybody Christmas up. I want what I want when I want it. Self-centered. I can't have what I have. If I'm not happy, you ain't gonna be happy either. And so I had took some of that behavior, and in my adult life, you know, because I say that what been granted, I know when my car got totaled in '76, but insurance didn't give me enough money, and the dealer said, now what I wanted was another Cadillac, but with negative equity and what have you, all I could get was a Chevrolet. You know, I caught the bus in Detroit in the wintertime because if I couldn't have that Cadillac, I don't want shit else. Then I get an attitude and a resentment against my wife because she won't take me where I need to go. You could have a car. Ain't nothing wrong with you going to get them pepper. Since you don't want a car, get your ass down into that bus stop. Now I got a resentment against her in the world. Now I'm mad as hell because my pride is set in. I ain't gonna ask somebody for help. And now I'm mad going to work. What's wrong with you, man? My wife don't understand. She crazy as hell, and you know, because it says in our basic text, we are great ones to put the blame on other people. See, that's another thing. See, I can live on a daily basis today because I don't have to live like that no more. See, I'm still not the one that says that if that's work for you, I'm fine with it, but right now I just can't get to it. So the dope is not the problem. Come to find out I'm the problem. See, I'm stupid. See, if I keep on telling myself that long enough, that dope ain't the problem, I might wind up using some. So that, you know, that's just for my recovery, you know. But don't get that wrong either, because I know I got ways and behavior. If I don't change, I'm gonna wind up using dope. And that's and that's what those spiritual principles, you know, like they said, as a result of doing these steps, we had a spiritual awakening. I got my spiritual awakening when I did my third tradition. When I read about the spiritual principle and how it works and why, you know how after tradition they always say how you apply the principle to this tradition. And when I read those principles of the third traditions, you know, that's when I had that, like what they used to call that moment of clarity. I had a moment of clarity. I said, wow, really spoke to me. And that's one thing I emphasize because that's one thing that worked for me on a daily basis is applying spiritual principle. And I guess that's my time because it ain't nothing on my own. Oh, okay. All right. I got 2 more minutes. So I get to bore y'all for 2 more minutes. But seriously though, that's how I live on this program on a daily basis, by practicing spiritual principles in all my affairs, because I'm a strong believer that, and that's one thing I always gravitated to. We got a set of principles written so simply that we can apply them in all our affairs. Didn't say I can apply them in Narcotics Anonymous. It said in all our affairs, you know, like I could let my wife with her little crazy ass be where she's at now. You know, one day I had to take and sit in front of the mirror and said, I want you to repeat after me. My name is Sandra and I'm a controlled addict. You know, and like, it's so much peace in my house now because I don't get upset over things that I cannot control. I mean, she's been like that I don't know how long, you know, and to tell you the truth, it's just a wonder why she's still with me here today, you know, because I had told some weird lies, you know. I don't understand. You go to work every day. You work anywhere from 10 to 14 hours a day, every day. How do you come home broke? Don't come home broke no more. Babe, you know what happened? Them damn terrorists They tried to kidnap the president of General Motors, and they missed him, and they blew up the computer that nobody get paid today. And the thing about it, I got a resentment because she didn't believe that lie. See, on my way home from work, I honestly convinced myself that was the truth. That actually happened. I don't know why they ain't got it on the news. You know, I'm looking on the news. It's gonna be on the news. It's gonna be on the news. Wait. Uh-oh, how you turn this shit off? You see, and that's another thing. I am not computer literate. I just now got a smartphone, and the only reason I got a smartphone is because when I asked him where's the phones that don't need a data plan, he took me way in the back around the corner some damn where, you know. And so that's not our contractor so I had to have my grandchild do a lot of shit for me. So I hope I gave you some sort of hope what I said this evening, and that's the best because I was just going to my room and he told me to do a workshop, and I said okay. And because I believe in service, I did service, all that. I've been H&I chair my area, you know, and but I still know how to say no, you know, like, because I know in the Marietta area they had this fundraiser, and they wanted me to be in a Dunkin' booth, you know, put on a pound. You out your motherfucking mind. I ain't doing no shit like that. You said no to service and Narcotics Anonymous? No, I'm not saying no to service and Narcotics Anonymous. I'm saying no to your ass, you know. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing, Rennie B. And now we'll turn it over to Danny A. Danny D. Danny A left.
Yeah, that guy. My name's Danny. I'm an addict.
Hey, Danny.
It must have been a heck of a meeting here earlier. I think we're going to need that now. But who here is? Yeah, I'm telling you. Anybody here at their first convention? Cool. Welcome. I hope you're having a good time and you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's been great.
I hope it's touching your heart. You know. I don't know if there's anybody here like me, but I've had a dilemma all my life. I was born and raised in New York City. I was raised in a town or a neighborhood called Ridgewood. Ridgewood was a border town. It was on the border of, I lived in Queens, but part of the neighborhood was in Brooklyn. Okay? And anybody that's ever been to New York City or heard about it or seen pictures of it, it's probably one of the most crowded places on earth. And I have always been terrified of crowds. And I have this dilemma with conventions because they get really crowded. There's a lot of people here. And I get this fear inside. And then, here's the thing, I've been coming around for a good little while. I've been doing this thing for a good little while. I've gotten to know a lot of people. Sometimes the only place I get to see them is at conventions. But it doesn't change the fact that I have this fear inside. And then I'm afraid of it. And I still want to isolate. I came to Narcotics, but let me back up. I told you I'm from New York City. My mother was using prescription narcotics for the first 6 months that she was pregnant with me because she was a heavy-set woman and she had what they call irregular menstrual cycles. So she had no idea she was pregnant. And I also grew up at a time when things were maybe different, when people didn't have a problem with giving children alcohol. When I was teething, they used booze. When it was cold out and I came in wet and from the snow, she gave me booze. The first time I picked up on my own, it was probably at a family function, where, actually, because, and also my father would, like, here, son, have some beer, and so it was always a regular thing to be around alcohol. And at a family function, I remember the first time I picked up on my own. I was really young, and I was going around and emptying all of the glasses that were on the table. And suddenly, this shy, fearful person of crowds and so on and so forth, and having other kinds of fears, suddenly I was okay with things, and I liked that feeling. I liked being able to get past my inhibitions. I started using on a regular basis, a daily basis, when I was 14 years old. And essentially I used for 14 years on a daily basis. Every once in a while I would do something, or early on I would do every couple of years I would take something we would refer to as a vacation. Now I'm just not going to use for a couple of weeks. And one of those things was, it was a way for me to tell myself I didn't have a problem. I'll just stop using for a little while, And I had been taught myths over the years, You'll never be a junkie if you don't stick a needle in your arm. You'll never be a junkie if you don't use the same substance more than 3 days in a row. So as a result of these myths, I would do all kinds of weird crap. I could use anything I wanted to as long as I didn't use it 3 days in a row or stick a needle in my arm. And I would use something for 2 days. And then I'd use something else for 2 days. And I'd do something else for 2 days. Then after 14 years and, all kinds of things, right? They came, before 14 years, the last few years I was using it, it got to the point where I could not conceive of taking a day off. I could not conceive of not using. It was beyond my ability to see that. I had to use every single day. Something. Anything. And I didn't know a way out. I didn't know there was any way out. I became suicidal. I used to ride a motorcycle. One of my masks, one of my ways of hiding the fact that I was really a frightened little boy, was I would do all kinds of crazy crap. I'd pick a fight with the biggest, baddest looking son of a that I could find. I rode a motorcycle. I was the biker's biker. And I would do all kinds of crazy stuff while riding a motorcycle. I'd get on the expressway in heavy rush hour traffic, and I'd ride 80 miles an hour between the lanes of cars. Tempting fate, because I was suicidal. I actually drove in front of trains that were coming, doing one of those, am I gonna make, testing fate, hoping that I could kill myself without actually killing myself. I pushed the limit all the time. I rode down staircases. I do all kinds of stuff, and I could not conceive of not using. It was just not there. I had to use every day. And one of the things is the using had got to the point where it wasn't fun. It was a job. I had to do this every single day. Every day was exactly the same as the last. Nothing changed. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything because I had to use. And I had to do whatever was necessary in order to use. And I was introduced to the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous in a really strange kind of way. Somebody I had used with for many years as a teenager and into adulthood. I hadn't seen him for a month or so. It was one of those days, I don't know if anybody can identify with this or not, but it was one of those days where I just didn't have a whole lot and I just didn't have much money. And I said, let me go over to so-and-so's house because he'll probably have something. And he had a good job, so he'll probably have some money, you know, and I went over to his house and I rang the doorbell and I said, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, I came over to get high. And he's like, no, I ain't getting high. And I was like, what? And I knew he had a problem with drugs. I mean, I'd known that for a long time. He had inherited a house from when both of his parents had died. And he had inherited this house, and they sold the house. And he essentially used all the money from the house. You know, and I helped him and everybody else helped him. But so I knew he had a problem. When he told me he wasn't using anymore, I was like, how did you do that? Because he was like me. And he says, well, you know, have you ever heard of this 12-step program called AA? I said, well, I heard of it. He says, well, I go to this thing called NA. And it's like that, except it's for people who don't want to use drugs anymore. I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. He says, yeah, I'm going to be leaving in about 15 minutes to go to a meeting. Do you want to come? I said, yeah, but I want to get high. He says, well, you know, I don't care if you want, he said to me, I don't care if you want to get high. He says, I'm going to leave in 15 minutes. If you're out here when I leave, and you are willing to come with me, I'll bring you and we'll go to this meeting. So he went, you know, I went and did what I had to do because I had something, right? And he came out and I went to this meeting. And I can't tell you who all was there. I can't tell you, it was small. There wasn't many people. There was probably less people there than there is here, right, tonight. And, but I can tell you this, that when I walked through the door, somebody came up to me and they put their arms around me. Some guy came up to me and he put his arms around me and he gave me a hug. And nobody had touched me for 2 years. I was a biker's biker. I didn't wash my clothes. I didn't clean anything. I didn't wash my body. You know, because it was all a way of keeping people away. Right? And for somebody to come up to me and put their arms around me and give me a hug and say, hey man, we're glad you're here. It touched me literally, not just physically, but it touched me on the inside. And I was like, all right, that's cool. So the meeting goes on, and it was, like I said, it was real small. And they go around, they said, we're going to go around the table. You know, somebody talked for a little while, and they said, okay, we're going to go around the table, and everybody's going to share something about themselves. And if you've used today, please don't share, because we want to hear from you and not the dope. So they go around, and it gets to me, and I said, okay, and I'm thinking in my mind, this is the part where they're going to throw me out. All right? So I stand up, and I say, my name's Danny, and I'm a garbage head, and I got high just before I came to this meeting. Because that's the kind of stuff that I did. And instead of throwing me out, they said to me, Danny, we love you. Keep coming back. Nobody told me to come back when I was doing the shit that was opposite of what they were talking about. Nobody ever told me that. People were quick to tell me there's the door. Because I did that stuff. I did things to make people tell me there's the door. You know, I got thrown out of a bar in New York City that's pretty world famous called CBGB Umfunds. You know, you got to be messed up to get thrown out of that dump. You know what I mean? I mean, this... Man, you know, so they tell me to keep coming back. We love you. So we leave this meeting, and my friend says to me, you know, he says, so what do you think? I said to him, man, that's really good for you. I'm glad it's working for you and you're staying clean. He says, well, what about you? I says, nah, man, I ain't ready. I've been trying to kill myself for years now. I've been acting out in every kind of way possible. And here I am giving the way out that I didn't know existed. And I'm telling him, no, that ain't me. And I went into the worst insanity I've ever experienced. My insanity was about to lasted for about a month, where every single day I'm doing the exact same stuff I had been doing. And nothing had changed, and every day I had to go get high. And every day I'm thinking about those people that told me I didn't have to do this no more. And those people that gave me a hug. And those people that said, keep coming back, we love you. They didn't ask nothing of me. They didn't expect me to give them anything. They didn't want anything from me. All they said is, just come back, man. Just keep coming. And after a month of that insanity, something happened. I'm not going to go into the big, long story of it, but I called my friend and I says, listen, I want to try going to those meetings. He said, okay, cool. So I start going to the meeting. And it was at that point that I heard some of these suggestions that we hear, right? They said, come to a meeting every day for 90 days. It's in the basic text. It's in the chapter, What Can I Do? Where it actually says we suggested, we come to a meeting try to come into a meeting every day for 90 days. And they shared it in different meetings where I got clean. And I heard that. And I said to myself, nah, I don't want to go to a meeting every day. I'm going to go when I feel like going. Some days I might not feel like going. I'm going to go when I feel like going. Okay. They said, get a sponsor. It's also suggested in our literature in the same chapter, What Can I Do? And I said, nah, I ain't going to get a sponsor. I don't need that. I can do this. I don't want to use anymore. I'm okay. And they said, get phone numbers and call people up. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I'm not going to do that. I don't like talking on the phone. By the way, I still don't like talking on the phone. But, they said to do this. And I was like, everything I had a reason. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do these things that they suggested that I do. And I did things my own way. And after a few months of doing things my own way, a party came up from people at work. We're going to have this party, and I knew they were going to be using there. And I actually talked about it with some of the people that I was coming to meetings with. And they said to me, Danny, if you go to that meeting, you're probably going to use. And I said, no, you don't understand. I don't want to use. I don't want to use at all. I've had it with using. I'm cool. I'm going to go there. I just want to be around these folks. I like them, and this one lady's leaving. That's why they're having this party, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, we love you, Danny. Keep coming back. And I says, okay, So I went to the party, and I used, even though I didn't want to use. And I came back the next day, which happened to be on my belly button birthday. And that was September 1st, 1985. And I surrendered for that moment. And I said, I picked up my white chip. And at that point, I said to myself, maybe I need to do some of the stuff that they're suggesting. Maybe I need to follow the direction that they're giving me. Maybe if I just try this stuff, I won't do that again. Because obviously if I keep doing what I want to do, I'm going to get the same results. Nothing's going to change. So I started doing the things they suggested. So I came to a meeting every day for 90 days. I made a meeting every day for 90 days. And then I continued to make a meeting every day. And I continued to make a meeting every day. And essentially, I probably made a meeting at least one meeting every day, at least. Sometimes I made 2 or 3, if I could. Probably for 5 years. And I got a sponsor. Of course, sponsorship's been an awkward situation. My first year, I had 3 different sponsors, right? And they all had the same first name, John. So I had 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, right? Just like these books from a book that we've read somewhere. But So anyhow, but I got something from each one of these guys. First John only had 90 days clean. By the way, I got clean in New York, right? And the fellowship was very young, and it was small, and there wasn't a lot of clean time available at the time. I mean, the fellowship had only existed. I got clean in 1985. Narcotics Anonymous as a whole only really existed in New York because of laws since 1980. So it was only 5 years old. It wasn't just the whole. It had grown dramatically, but it was still small. It really grew from two things that happened prior to my getting clean. The first was the basic text came out in 1983, and in the same year, 1983, they had the NA World Convention there. And if you ever watched that video thing going on out there in the lobby called for the memorial, there's a picture that comes up through there that's got a picture of a man named Jimmy Kay. He was one of the founding members of the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. And there's several pictures on that slide. And one of the pictures has a picture of him standing with the Statue of Liberty behind him. And that was taken at the World Convention in 1983. And the fellowship in New York prior to that, all of meetings of Narcotics Anonymous that existed in New York City prior to 1983 belonged to an area. It was the New York area of Narcotics Anonymous, and it was a part of a region called the Mid-Atlantic region of Narcotics Anonymous, which encompassed like 4 or 5 states, right? And after 1983, things grew dramatically. So when I came to New York to the fellowship in 1985, in Queens, where I was from, we maybe had one meeting a day, and we had an area. We had a tiny little meeting schedule. It was like things exploded right around the same time that I got clean. And before I moved down here in 1994, the fellowship grew, unbelievably. We went from having, good God, one meeting a day to 2 separate areas within the geological boundaries of the borough, and both of them had one had 67 groups hosting several meetings each, and the other one had like 40 groups hosting several meetings each. So this is like the stuff that I got clean with. All right, it's just basic history. But one of the things that helped me the most with my daily basis when I'm practicing this stuff early on, in the idea of making a meeting every day and just trying to learn how to do stuff different. We had slogans. We had them on the walls. Part of every one of our meetings, we put up all of these things on the walls, and they said different stuff. They said things like, "Don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens." There was one that said, "Think," and just the word "think," but it was turned upside down. It said, "An addict alone is in bad company." It said all of this stuff. All these little things were plastered on the walls. And I learned all of those slogans early on because that was how I learned how to practice the principle. Those were the things that I ran to when something would happen. I'm really mad at this situation that happened, and I'm really angry, and somebody hurt my feelings. And it's like, which one of those slogans can I apply? Why am I crazy over something? Why am I all upset over this? Why is this affecting me in this way? That was how I learned how to practice these principles on a daily basis. I didn't know how to work the steps. All right, I told you about I started talking about 1 John. 1 John had 90 days clean, and he kind of introduced me basically to this stuff, this real simple stuff. But when I was really early on, I was always asking, when's it going to get better? And I drove him crazy. You know, he had 90 days clean, and I'm like, you know, when's this going to get better? Because they tell me it's going to get better, and he said, just keep coming. Everybody was always telling me to just keep coming. They didn't have an answer for me per se, other than just keep coming. And he says, but I don't want to feel this way. You know, they would go around to every meeting, and they'd say, you know, they'd ask for, you know, anybody here got less than, you know, 90 days clean, want to share their clean time? And I'd raise my hand and say, my name's Danny, and I've got 30 days clean, and I feel like shit. You know, and most of the time that's what I did. You know, I didn't really share much of anything else. And of course, there was that one day that it came where they asked that, and I said, my name's Danny, and I've got like 70 days clean or whatever it was. I don't really remember. And I was like, I feel pretty good today. You know, and it got better. But I didn't really recognize it, you know. So I had to keep coming. That's all he told me to do, is just keep coming. Don't use, keep coming. Don't use, keep coming. I had to keep pounding into my head. I had to hear the readings over and over and over and over and over and over again. You know, because I have built-in forgetters. You know, stuff goes in one ear, comes right out the other side. I don't pay attention to it. So I had to hear this stuff over and over and over again. That's why I had to come to a meeting every day for 5 years. You know, I don't know what anybody else has to do. So, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I moved here in 1994, and I had the bright idea to go out and get a job driving a tractor trailer, because things were different here, money-wise. And I found myself out on the road by myself, not being able to make meetings. And I went a little bit crazy. And after 2 years, I came back. You know, I hadn't used, but I got to the point where I had to start making meetings again. And I started making meetings every day. And I met this guy. His name was Elliot. He used to go to this place called in Atlanta. It was called DAC. And it was in it was off of Briarcliff Road or something like that. And I started going there on a regular basis. And I asked Elliot to be my sponsor. And anybody that was there ever around him or ever met him, he kind of said the same thing over and over and over again. Anytime he went to a meeting, he said the same things. He said, look, if you want to stay clean and you want to recover, you do these 3 things, and you will recover in spite of yourself. He said, first, don't use no matter what. Second, make a meeting. And third, work the bloody steps. And it's kind of the same stuff they've been telling me all along. It's the same thing they just told me. Don't use, keep coming. Don't use, keep coming. He had to then work the bloody steps. And I developed a relationship with this guy. And we would talk about all kinds of stuff. We'd get together after the meeting, we'd go out and we'd have coffee. Most of the time it was just me and him, and we'd talk about everything and anything. And, you know, in the conversations, I asked him, what's that about the bloody steps thing? And he said to me, he says, man, Danny, when we work these steps, it's not nice. It's not comfortable. It gets messy. It's like, he explained it, it's kind of like working in a butcher shop. You know, it gets messy. But the benefits are, we get better. We change. You know, that's the whole idea of the thing, of this whole thing, of this program. You know, again, that chapter, what can I do? It refers to, it actually says in there, we get a program and we develop it for ourselves. You know, through the suggestions. So by working the steps, I become a different person. I get a chance to find out who I am. And it doesn't end, you know. It keeps on going. I get to know me a little bit more over and over and over again. I've been coming here for a long time. And, you know, I can't say early on, it was much more about the daily basis of what I need to do in order to stay clean. Today, it's more of a, life changes as we get older. You know, I'm not a young man. You know, I said I got clean. My clean day is September 1st, 1985. Right? That was my 28th birthday. You know, and I'm not a young man anymore. I mean, I've gotten old. I've changed. My body's changing.